And now for part 2.
It's nuts. I mean, and then women were separated from their babies when they evacuated the hospitals, and they're like, the mom would be in one city and the baby would be in another, like, oh my God. And one of the nurses or somebody took it upon herself to take them with her when she evacuated them to keep those embryos alive. And that's how our whole nonprofit started. One of our dealerships, Troy let the National Guard use to be like a drive-through distribution for like MREs and water and stuff like that. They were given out to people. Even some of our employees that didn't evacuate stayed and they went and volunteered. It was amazing. They had some factories who were like, if you're listed as an employee, send us your bank account and we'll put money in it.
Like, I mean, that's the last thing you want to have to worry about at that time is not only where am I going to live, but how am I going to make money? And
the man lost 1,200 cars in Katrina 20 years ago and lost everything. And here we are. We grew times 3, times 4. So yeah, learning a lot along the way.
I love it. Okay, I have a dying question.
Yeah.
That is not even relevant to the conversation we've been having. So anybody who knows me knows that I'm a severe weather nerd, like through and through. I think I've watched every documentary that exists on Hurricane Katrina. Mm-hmm. One thing that I've never seen addressed is what happened to the vehicle market in New Orleans after Katrina. What was that like?
Funny you ask, because we hold the record for the most vehicles lost in Katrina. Premier does. We lost 1,200 vehicles in our stores. And in Katrina, we only had, at the time, we only had, we were just in Louisiana. We only had 7 stores. But all but 2 of our stores were right where it was the worst in New Orleans, like 15 feet of water, 18 feet of water. So, and I'll have to text you this afterwards, a picture of CNN had an aerial view on the news, and my boss tells this story, and they were showing our Toyota store, which is about 40,000 square feet, and it's spread out really wide, and they were showing an aerial view, and he didn't see any cars, and he was like, oh, all the cars got stolen. Well, no, they were all underwater, but you didn't see them. Like it was that much water. And then when he saw it from a different view, he's like, oh, wait, they're all underwater, And so when we we lost all of that inventory, and then, where we were, where it was the worst, where it just sat high for a long time, and then it came down, but it was still high. Then we're right by where there was the oil spills at Murphy Oil. So the oil then mixed in with the water, and it was this sludgy sort of, ugh. So when the water started coming down, you had this brown film all over everything. The cars sort of would they had moved. So they would, when the water came down, they were like on top of each other or this way, and hoods were popped open and this, that, whatever. And then there was like 3 feet of like packed mud on the ground. And you walked on the ground like it was the ground, but it was like on top of 3 feet. So it was just, aside from the disaster of it destroying buildings and the environment and grass and trees, we had 1,200 cars that were piled and just junked. Now, this is the thing. Mixed in with some of those were customer cars that were in the service departments. And now you've got these people who have left and evacuated and left their cars. All of our records were destroyed because we had some, back then you backed them up, but you didn't back them up to a cloud like you do today as much. You didn't think, you're like, oh, I just need to pop the tapes out when I leave and take them with us. Some of the stores did do that, but the problem was when you come back, you can't just take all, we could take all our inventory cars and get them to come and pick them up and junk them. But customer cars, you couldn't just get rid of them. And then we had to try to find these people. We had to file liens. So we literally had to keep for almost 2 years all of these random cars over on like extra space until the paperwork was done, all the red tape.
They're all also water damaged and probably molding from the inside out.
Water damage, molding, disgusting. So that's why we had them moved away. But yeah, so then what we did was we were just like, that's how our whole nonprofit started, which is huge. One of our dealerships, Troy let the National Guard use to be like a drive-through distribution for like MREs and water and stuff like that. They were given out to people who stayed and didn't have any food and water. So even some of our employees that didn't evacuate stayed, and they went and volunteered giving out all this stuff. And the one store we could get back open, we kind of, anybody who was back, we let you go work over there. And, Troy tried to pay everyone he could. He didn't have business interruption insurance. He just didn't think he needed it. Because everybody's like, oh, I bet you had business interruption. You can pay your people. No, he didn't. So not everybody did. So it was crazy. We had nasty cars everywhere. We lost a ton. The manufacturers helped a lot trying to send you stuff, but we didn't have a place for them to send it because our building got destroyed. And then so it's like, well, we could set up like a mobile area, but we didn't have electricity in New Orleans. So as soon as we got electricity, we set up mobile buildings and we got to work rebuilding. So I've actually built a Toyota store twice. But we kept the watermark line on the back of the building, like to remind, but it was unreal. I mean, like Troy tells a story like everything he had worked for his whole life was gone, and he had bank loans being called in and stuff. And, but when he set up that volunteer center, he tells a story how he's like, well, my dad said,
This episode is brought to you by Epic BDC, your #1 outsourced BDC solution. Check out more about Epic BDC by clicking the link in the show notes or visiting epicbdc.com.
That's who you need to take care of, your employees, not the brick and mortar. Go figure out how to take care of your employees. So anybody who wanted to come and clean up, he paid them hourly. If they just needed like some income, he paid them what he could hourly just to help clean up. And then anybody, like I said, we operated a few of the stores out of the one that was open. The factories let us do that. And then we just tried to get inventory little by little as we rebuilt. Like the more we rebuilt, factories would send us more cars, but it took a bit, so, cause everybody needed to rebuild. So the contractors were overwhelmed, all that stuff. It was nuts. I know I watched something not long ago about the 20th anniversary of it. And it brought me back like how bad it was in the city with people and how it was just poorly handled and stuff. But yeah, ours was and our area where the majority of that was still hasn't come back to what it was. Like we don't have the restaurants and the different businesses that were here before, even 20 years later.
From everything I saw, like a lot of people never got paid out from insurance, or insurance would find a reason not to pay them out because they may have had like weather insurance, but they didn't have flood insurance. Yep. And so they're like, oh, well, we can't cover that. And it's like, okay, what?
Yeah. And some of them just have not come back. And it's probably about somebody gave us statistics. I think it's like a third of the population it was in this one specific zip code. But yeah, because if you're not considered in a flood zone, you don't get flood insurance for fun. And we didn't have flood insurance because we were, and we have like a golf course behind us that's much lower, which is basically like a big, like if it floods, it all goes right there. So it wasn't anything where Troy was like, it's not that he was underinsured. It just wasn't insurance he thought he needed, So, so yeah.
Nobody can predict the lake becoming part of the city.
I mean, like, and then I was, it was just crazy. I mean, yeah. So where we were, we had the most cars lost. And I forget the number value that goes with it, but it was 1,200 vehicles. And I remember NADA came down and did a video when we reopened and showed the before pictures and the after and stuff like that. It was just crazy. Because then as a result of volunteering with the food, Troy did not reopen one of our smaller dealerships, and he donated it to Second Harvest to give out food. And that just sort of became a thing of its own. So we have a nonprofit for the past 20 years that started, it focuses mostly on food insecurity. You know, people who there's a food distribution right behind our corporate office where people come and get food through the food bank, Second Harvest, and other people we partner with. But and then that grew to more things like, you know, community centers and orphanages and adoptions and this and that. But the food insecurity is a big thing. And like right now, with Second Harvest having issues, our food bank isn't open as many days. And so the days it is open, we have lines like down the road. It's a shame. Wow. It's a shame. Yeah. So anyway, so that's what Katrina birthed out of. That's one good thing it birthed out of us. That and a lot of resilience, you know, because we still had a good bit of employees come back, which was awesome. You know, they're like, do I have a job to come back to? And we're like, if you come back, you got a job, you know? Yeah. So that was cool. We had a lot of ours come back because I know a lot of people didn't, which to me says something about retention. You know, if you feel taken care of and, you know, it's someplace you want to go back to during a natural disaster, then yeah, that's a good thing.
Well, and it's wild what happened to everybody in that area. And that's, I mean, all of the, like I said, I've watched, I think, everything out there to watch on it. But the fact that everybody was just left to figure it out on their own for 5 days with no intervention from, you know, from national government or FEMA or anything like that. And while you guys have the 15 feet of water, like, what do you do? Like, and it's the middle of summer. It's the hottest time of the year. Like, people are dying from heat strokes.
And then you find out that the reason that they weren't picked up and bussed out is because there was chatter of people being shot at, which was false. It's just so frustrating that they handled it that way. I mean, it was just, it was horrible. I watch those things now and I remember going, God, you know, it did not affect me directly, but I think if it had, or a family member, I would be so angry. Like they are, and they should be. They deserve to be.
Every bit
of deserve to be. How
was it getting news? Like, that's what I imagine. Like, if you're a part of New Orleans, like you have no electricity, we didn't have cell phones back then. Like, how do you, or smartphones anyways, how do you even get information? Like, hey, we finally have help on the way, or we don't have help on the way. Like, what avenues were there?
They only if you stayed here, you had the National Guard that was delivering it. You had if you had like a portable radio, you know, obviously you had that. If you had evacuated, you have the news, which is what most of us did. And then there were, you know, when you came back, it's funny because that's when a lot of people started to learn how to text.
Did you know that there's a monthly newsletter where you can keep in touch with everything that I'm a Car Chick podcast is up to? There is. Check out the show notes below, and you can also follow us on all social media and stay in tune with whatever we're up to.
Because you didn't have smartphones, but you had phones where you could text, but you had to, like, you know, if you wanted to just type the letter C, you had to hit it 3 times. You know, it's so funny because Troy learned to text during that time. My husband learned to text during that time, you know. So many people learned to text, and which sounds so prehistoric, you know. But it was that. It was a lot of that. It was just watching the news. I can remember being evacuated, and all of us would watch the news, and then we'd text each other, you know, like the ones that were evacuated. But here it was with the National Guard was relaying to them, like the people that were left at, you know, the different the sites. And even in those recent documentaries, you'll see like they were relying strictly on, you know, the police and National Guard that were giving them updates, you know, and then those updates weren't accurate. And you were making decisions based on inaccurate information, which is how they got left. So I know it's so sad. It really is just such a shame. I mean, so much that came of it. And, you know, they say they're prepared for that never to happen again. But years have lagged on before the, you know, things around here structurally were corrected. You know, the levees breaking and all that, and the Corps of Engineers, and it's just crazy. It's like just when you think it's under control, then the levee broke, and then you get flooded even more. So, and people have to like wade in that water, and it's dirty, and you get, you know, horrible bacteria, and it just was awful.
You see people running into stop signs because Like they're swimming because you can't walk. So they're swimming.
And you don't know what's underneath the water, but you can't stay in your attic or on your roof anymore because it's rising. It's crazy. Those people, had it been run correctly, they could have had buses readily available to get people out who didn't have the ability to get out on their own, Troy waited till the last minute because he just did not want to leave because he thought, I'm going to lose everything.
Yeah. You want to stay behind and check on your business.
He sent his family off, everything. He stayed, and one of our managers stayed too. And the police came and they said, you have to leave. And he said, when I leave there, I'm going to come back to nothing. He said, we'll watch it. We're here in this area, but you can't control, Mother Nature. So, but yeah, so he, lost everything. I mean, he's a resilient sucker.
I guess if Katrina taught us anything, it's that.
Because it put some people out of business, they didn't come back. So thankfully, the factories worked really well it was amazing. They had some factories who were like, if you're listed as an employee, send us your bank account and we'll put money in it. Like employees. Wow. Yeah, even like $300 or something. Or like when factories are sending money to help their dealers and their employees, that's pretty cool. And most every manufacturer did something to try to help the employees, which I think is amazing. So,
that's the last thing you want to have to worry about at that time is not only where am I going to live, but how am I going to make money? And
and some of them couldn't get into their banks. If it was a local bank or something, you can't access your money. It's.
Oh my God!
I know. I used a local bank at the time, so when we evacuated to Alabama, I was like, okay. We'll just use credit cards but what if you're somebody who didn't have credit cards, So right. It's just,
which a lot of people different. I didn't. That was a high poverty area.
Very. That's why a lot of them didn't have vehicles to get out, which is why the buses and all should have been there. But it was unbelievable. I'll have to snap you the picture, the aerial picture that is blown up and hung up in Troy's office. And you can see whites, like little shades of white in the water because it had come down a little. And it's like the type of the white cars that you can see, So, and that's because it had come down enough to just see like little shades of white.
I just can't understand or can't fathom the overwhelming responsibility of what do I now do with 1,200 destroyed cars? Like, how do you even begin the process of getting them out of there, getting new inventory? And you have to wait till the water's low enough to even do anything. But
we had to wait until the water's low enough, and we brought tow trucks in, and we had to. Thankfully, we have 2 acres of just on one side of the dealership. We have 2 acres of just pavement, so they drug them all over there and just lined them up, and we had rows all over there until we did all the paperwork. And then the ones that were our inventory, the auctions would come get them so they could destroy them because you can't sell them.
Yeah.
So they would come pick them up in loads at a time and get those moved. But the customer ones stayed. We had them there for almost 2 years.
That's
customers. When the customers are like, we don't care, and they just don't respond, then you have to file to be able to own them and stuff. And there's just paperwork and mess. But yeah, I know it was just literally tow trucks dragging them over, and there was full of that brown sludge that didn't come up. If it was just water, it'd be one thing, but the oil mixed in was just
and the mud
and the mud,
everything that was in the water at that point, because everything was coming out of people's houses and other buildings and vehicles and probably gas.
And by the time you got back, there was mold already forming everywhere.
The heat.
So that was tough. We couldn't send employees in to go and help pull sheetrock without treating all that first, and then putting them in masks and whatever. So,
this episode is brought to you by SCP Agency, your one-stop shop for organic social media. Check them out by clicking the link in the show notes or visit scpagency.com.
And trying to think about wearing a mask when it's that hot, and humid. Not just hot, but humid.
Oh, yeah. We got the humidity here. You can see with this curly hair, it gets bigger.
People don't understand how humidity affects the heat if they've never experienced it. It is like living in a running dishwasher.
Yes, it's like you have a film on you. That just is like
you're breathing and drinking at the same time. Oh God,
pretty much.
Well, I mean, the story of resilience and everything you guys have taken from it, built from it, and I'm assuming still growing. Are we still growing past 38?
I don't know. We've been trying to tell Troy, come on now. We're trying to get him to sell something. We're trying to get him to downsize. You know, he's still going strong. He's not going to, I mean, he's young and he's not retiring. But, you know, as you grow a company, when you stay the same size as corporate, it's kind of hard, you know. So, you know, we keep telling him he needs to downsize, but, you know, you try to tell him that. He likes to, you know, when he made a decision however many years ago to bring partners in, people who wanted their own stores but couldn't do it on their own, he brings them in, lets them buy in a small percentage, and that's his way of helping them achieve their dream, which is fabulous. Yeah. But we grew really fast doing that, and I'm just like, all right, so let's just last set that he bought last year, he bought 4 at one time, which was tough. And so we told him we're taking the checkbook away. Like, this was hard doing 4 at one time and going in there. So we're like, we're taking the checkbook away. You know, we told him that. He goes, all right. So we'll see. We'll see.
Maybe it's like mellowed out for a while.
Yeah. We're like, no more buying. You can window shop, but that's it. Whether he listens is another thing.
Yeah. Before you buy anymore, you have to go and visit every single store.
Yeah. It's hard.
Don't get it out of your system.
Yeah. So yeah, who knows? I mean, I could say we took the checkbook, but you know, he's going to do what he wants to do.
It's not done.
I asked him something the other day. I was like, what do you think about, like, maybe you need to just start like being a great coach and just helping him coach, and that season in your life where you pass on what you know and you be a great mentor. He's like, I can do that and still buy stores. I was like, don't you? You're missing the point. Because he just loves to be involved. So it's like, okay, you know.
It's hard, you know, and it sucks because it's hard to find someone like that with that much passion and drive. And like, I see it in Robin all the time. And she's like, her mentality is, I've got to get as much work done while I'm alive as I can. Like, I only have so much time on this earth to make a difference. And so I can't slow down. I can't stop, because if I stop, all the momentum stops. And so I get it, because I see it all the time. But it's like, I look at her sometimes, like, we'll be leaving at night and I'm like, don't work when you go home. And she's like, no, I can't do that. I'm going to go home and work. I'm like, rest, woman, rest.
I mean, it's going to be there. It's dictated at your pace. If you're making it that pace, that's how it's going to work. You know, it's still, that's what we try to tell Troy. Like, he'll ask you to do something and 3 minutes later, he'll ask you if it's done. It's like, I've got to get it. You got to let me get it done. You know, so it's just, you know, nothing's going to be damaged. Or sometimes I just go, yeah, it's done. And just so he doesn't ask me again, you know, it's like, they just need to know that. So, but there's a lot to be said for visionaries, you know. I mean, the man lost 1,200 cars in Katrina 20 years ago and lost everything. And here we are. We grew times 3, times 4. So yeah. Yeah. Learning a lot along the way.
I love it. I want to thank you for coming on and spending so much time with me today. I told Tracey in the beginning that we were going to be at 30 minutes. We're at 1 hour and 8 right now. But I mean, it's good.
People are going to be like, why is this so long? Cut it short.
It's good conversation though. And plus I had to get my New Orleans question in there. Like,
there you go.
Like, I'm to the extent of so I was in 6th grade when Katrina happened. But I had just lived, 2 years prior, had just lived through a tornado in my town. And so it got me like crazy obsessed with severe weather and all of that stuff. And so I was watching that whole thing really heavily as it was developing, coming into the Gulf, all of that stuff, like, you know, as a 6th grader. And was so into it that my science teacher let me teach a class on severe weather in 6th grade. Like, I feel like you might know more about this than even I do. And so I'm going to let you take over and teach on this one day.
Did you watch all the recent specials on the 20-year Katrinas that they have out? There's several of them that they did, and they're all different.
I think I've seen all of them. I've got to say, though, I think the best one that was ever done was the Spike Lee one.
Yeah.
That one and there was also a drama series that was done. It wasn't a documentary, but a drama series.
Yes, where you got the backstory of in the hospital of one of the doctors.
Yes. Yeah, 5 days at Memorial.
She lives in my community. The one that got arrested. Yeah, that was a cool story. That was working.
More people hadn't heard about that.
And the conditions that the people in the hospital had to operate in, that was crazy. That deserved its own series, the one you watched. That was nuts, that you had to stay in the hospital and try to keep babies alive. There was right down the street is the Fertility Institute. And there was employees that have these embryos and stuff in that cryo freeze or whatever. And
you've made it this far, and I have to say thank you so much for listening. Please be sure to rate the show, whether you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, subscribe on YouTube, and of course on all social media channels. Light it up.
One of the nurses or somebody took it upon herself to take them with her when she evacuated in some type of, I guess, something that protected them to keep those embryos alive. And yeah, and there's, I got to Google it.
How many of
those babies survived and they were born, like the parents who had those embryos, so I need to look it up and see. But yeah, there was a story about her. They were like, she wasn't told to do it, but she's like, I wasn't leaving them. Those are babies, And so, yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
I saw a movie not too long ago, and now I can't remember who was in it. It was almost like a one actor the whole time type thing. Like there was a couple of different people in there, but it was his wife had a baby like right at the start of Katrina, but she died giving birth, and the baby had breathing problems, so it needed a breathing machine. And he had to keep manually hand cranking the machine to keep the baby alive. And he's also got to go and try and find help, but he has to redo that like every 42 minutes or something like that.
Yeah.
And he's got to go do it and then come back and go do it and come back and go find help. And this whole time he's just in this hospital, and looters come in and they're killing the remaining nurses. Like, yeah, it was a whole thing.
Yeah, it's nuts. I mean, and then women were separated from their babies when they evacuated the hospitals, and they're like, the mom would be in one city and the baby would be in another. Like, oh
my God, trying to find your baby when, I mean, babies don't have the factors. Like,
yeah, a newborn. That's nuts. That's nuts. So when we hang up, I'm going to go take a picture of and text it to you of the one from the aerial and, or any of the other ones. There's like books out on Katrina people have given us, but yeah, that was the CNN picture someone sent him. And
I can't believe there's not more about the businesses. Like I've seen obviously a lot of the stuff that happened at the Dome and the convention center, which having been there for NADA, like I can't even visualize that place holding that many people.
I know, huh? It's crazy because that place is huge.
Yeah. Oh, it was massive.
Yeah. And so is the Dome.
But still, like, I tried to get into the Dome, but it was the week of the Super Bowl, so they wouldn't let me in. I was kind of pissed about it because it's on my list to hit every NFL stadium.
Yeah.
And go with them.
Oh.
So I didn't get to count it, but I took a picture outside of it. So.
Oh, well, there you go. There you go. Yeah. If you watch the documentary that has that retired general on there, I forget his name, but he was he's the one that came in and got stuff done. The one that has him in it interviews a lot of the guard that answered to him that were in the Dome and stuff like that. And they gave you a lot of backstory. And then you see like the FEMA guy over in an hour away in Baton Rouge and AC and whatever else, like instead of doing what he should have been doing. So I know it's horrible. It's horrible. A lot of neat stories though. So, but I'll send you that picture.
Yeah. I'm excited to see that because I never even thought about how that impacted the car business in there. And then obviously everyone probably lost their vehicles. So then you have to quickly get back to that point so that you can start offering vehicles to the public again. And it's just like vicious cycle.
Yeah. And we were one of like 2, maybe 3 auto groups in the city, but the other auto groups weren't in the area of the city that lost all the cars. We were right in the smack dab of it. So,
gosh dang.
So that's why we get that award. Not one we're proud of, but
Yeah. That's an awesome comeback story, though. And the fact that you guys have now built to 38 stores from that and
a nonprofit.
And are giving back to the people of New Orleans. And I mean, I just love everything about it. So you guys, a pillar of light to the whole business, and everybody has something to learn from you guys.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I know they would too.
I loved having you on the show today. I never want to stop talking to you.
I loved being on the show. I could talk forever. I'm from New Orleans, so and I'm from a huge family, so you had to be loud to be heard. So that's me in a nutshell. So we could talk about anything you want, anytime ever. We can do a Katrina special.
Yes. if anybody wants to connect with you and maybe learn more about your Premier Women in Leadership or more about empowering women or anything, really, what's the best way for them to connect with you?
My email, I live by it, tfields@premierautomotive.com. And I'm on LinkedIn. So, yeah, for sure. I would love to share anything anybody wants to know. We're in an open book here. So yeah. And of course, I love learning from everyone else. So, I mean, there's so much, like, poor Faith. She's probably like, I wish I could get rid of her now, but I love Faith. She's amazing. And she is so generous and wise. And I've just, adopted her, whether she wants me to or not. So I have a lot of women like that now that I've met through Women in Automotive and LinkedIn and whatever. It's amazing. And the whole conference is a big hype conference. It's amazing. So,
well, and the communities that have been built from it are everything. I mean, because those never go away.
No.
They're always there in some way, shape, or form. And so it's just getting better and better and better. And it's just the coolest thing in the world to watch.
Yeah. I mean, it gives me an opportunity to talk about what I get. I wouldn't have this opportunity to talk about women in leadership and our great employees and stuff, without it or be on that panel. Heather was amazing. I only met Heather like once or twice, but I love Heather. But she was like, hey, and I was like, that's really cool. Thank you. And so she did amazing. She acts like she didn't, but she did awesome. She's a great connector too.
Yeah. I love her. She's such good people.
And I got to meet Jamie through it. And Jamie's like me. We're both like from the car, grew up in the car business. We talk, we're like, like we knew each other yesterday, so.
That's a natural connection.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm excited that you had me on. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Best time.
I can't wait to see the outcome of this episode because I know that this is going to take a lot.
Break it up in 2 or 3 parts because we talked so long.
It's been a while since I've had one this long.
Oh my goodness.
But I love it though. I mean, we kept the conversation good the whole time. I told her in the beginning, like, I try to keep it 30 minutes, but if the conversation's good, I won't stop it. So.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, let me know whenever you need me.
Absolutely.
Thanks again, Tracy. All right, Shasta, talk soon. Bye.